Welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Hello. 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 Hi, M. Guerrero. How are you? How's everybody doing? All right. We're going to start in a little bit a teaching, um, a Santa Muerte teaching, and then we're going to do a Santa Muerte child of death explanation that I did last week that I'm going to do again. And then I'm going to speak about my foundational beliefs, see if people align with this philosophy. All right. Hopefully everyone had a good day. Um, so so far so good. It's 10 a.m. 10:45 right here on the West Coast. So far so good. Energy is stabilizing with a lot of people. People are still trying to push forward from the new year. Um, I'm not a big believer on the new year, new me thing. The moment that you decide that a change is needed, that's the moment you're supposed to act upon it. But right now, those people that perpetually do the New Year's resolution thing, this is a moment where they've fallen off or they double down. So if you're into that New Year, new me thing, this is the moment. If you're still holding on to your resolutions, you're in good shape. If you've fallen off, it's time to, I guess, to rededicate yourself to the change you committed to. Um, when you make commitment to yourself and you don't uphold it, that doesn't have anything like really spiritual because you're just letting yourself down. In a in a way, it's very difficult, to manifestate things based out of a date. There has to be a real necessity for change. So like if you ever are in a sense ill, you shouldn't wait for the New Year's resolution to change your habits to better yourself, health wise. The moment you need to change is then and there. So don't let the new year or your resolution you made, make you feel bad if you couldn't keep it. But you must double down for yourself. If you're looking for happiness, you must look out for yourself, obviously, and obviously, like you want to make sure that you can you can do this for you. That's it. You know what I mean? Like whenever you make a resolution, it shouldn't be based on a date. It should be because you need to make the change then and there. How do we do this? Hold on. So we're gonna do a teaching right now in a little bit, and where is this thing at? All right. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna announce that whenever I go live on YouTube or TikTok, I'm gonna just turn off the chat for me. It's not a big deal. Like if people want to come listen, they can. If they want to come and be disruptive, it's okay. They can go do that elsewhere. Um, it's not a big deal. Like if people want to come here and be disruptful, all right, it's cool. They can go do that elsewhere. This isn't a church where people can just walk in. I could silence this shit, so it's fine. So again, whenever you guys make a decision to change, the moment is in and there. If you have fallen off from your New Year's resolution, it's okay. You can always recommit yourself to the things you need to change. All right. So I'm gonna do some teachings today, but I want to touch on a few other things as the energy progresses, as the week has unfolded. There's heaviness, responsibility, and effort that must be put forward so you can sort of have the the end of the week that you desire. A lot of people, they do get a little bit discouraged when things don't go their way. Whenever there's any kind of adversity, people tend to shy away. Adversity will strengthen you. Adversity will make you stronger. Adversity will make you sort of grow. It is in tough times where people grow. It is in those moments where you show your mettle, where you show what you're made of. So don't let adversity or anything like that slow you up. All right? So I'm going to start this teaching. This is the Santa Muerte daily teaching. Thank you for that, A Drinks. Thank you for that. May you be blessed now forever. May Santa Muerte protect you and God guide you. Thank you, Kiana. Thank you, Tajin, for being here. And again, like, I've shut off the comments on both TikTok and YouTube because we do get people that come here to try to be disruptive and try to be a nuisance. My energy to me is sacred. So again, I don't like to step into shit. I want to step over it. But my human nature sometimes gets the best of me, and I sometimes do get, passionate about certain things. But that being said, I'm gonna go into this next teaching, and hopefully it makes sense to some of you. Hopefully it hits where it needs to go. Again, I do the daily Santa Muerte teachings, and I post them on Patreon. I do them live here on TikTok and YouTube, so that people that need to hear it can hear it. Maybe you're meant to hear it, maybe you're not. But here we go. This is the Santa Muerte daily teachings. All right. When I do these teachings, I don't, I try to be as honest as possible. This is my belief. It does not have to be yours, and it does not have to reflect your values. These are my beliefs. These are what I believe, and people can take it and make what they want with it. I'm not here to ever try to convince anyone that I'm right and they're wrong. You take this how you want to take it, as they say. Excuse me, I have coffee. I'm getting old. Here we go. Hopefully you guys understand the teaching. La Santa Muerte Daily Teachings, Day 15. Not everyone is gifted the same. Why different gifts cause jealousy, confusion, and attacks. Spoken under God Almighty and La Santa Muerte. This is discernment, not ego, not comparison, not mass approval. This teaching matters because one of the biggest sources of conflict in spiritual spaces is not evil. It is not curses. It is not outside attack. It is insecurity mixed with ignorance. People attack what they do not understand. People judge what they cannot access. People try to silence what exposes their limitations. And when gifts are involved, that insecurity gets loud. First, hard truth. Not everyone is gifted the same. That is not favoritism. That is design. God does not distribute gifts evenly. La Santa Muerte does not assign roles randomly. Some people are meant to see, some people are meant to feel, some are meant to hear, some are meant to carry, some are meant to witness, some are meant to heal, and some are meant to follow, learn, and grow quietly. That does not make anyone better. It makes everyone different. The lie that creates most conflict. Here is the lie that poisons spiritual communities. If I don't have that gift, then it must not be real. Or worse, if I don't understand it, it must be wrong. That mindset does not come from God. it does not come from la Santa Muerte. It comes from ego and fear. People would rather tear down what they cannot do than admit they still have growing to do. Gifts are not decorations. Spiritual gifts are not trophies. They are not badges. They are not proof of superiority. They are responsibilities. Seeing energy is not a flex. Feeling energy is not entertainment. Touching energy is not fun. Healing people is not light work. Those gifts come with weight, discipline, and consequence. People who romanticize gifts have never carried them. Why some people can see, feel, and touch energy. Some people are born sensitive. Some people are shaped by trauma. Some are shaped by loss. Some are shaped by survival. Some are shaped by near death. Some people have walked so close to death that their senses never shut off again. That sensitivity is not learned, it is revealed. And once revealed, it cannot be turned off. Children of death often carry stronger gifts. Some people have felt la Santa Muerte before they ever knew her name. As children, this feels like dread. As adult, it becomes knowing. These people often sense danger before it arrives, feel energy in rooms, objects, and people, carry strong intuition, receive sudden knowing without explanation, survive moments they should have not survived. These are not accidents. They are responsibilities assigned early. Why this makes others uncomfortable. People who are not gifted this way often feel exposed around those who are. Not because the gifted person is attacking them, but because truth is harder to hide. A person who can feel energy does not need to accuse. They already know. That silent knowing unsettles people who rely on performance, language, or belief systems to feel secure. Jealousy disguised as righteousness. This is where harassment comes from. People say, that's not real, that's not biblical, that's not allowed. You're doing it wrong. What they really mean is, I don't have that gift and it scares me. Instead of humility, they choose judgment. Instead of learning, they choose attack. Instead of growth, they choose noise. That is not devotion. That is insecurity. Not having a gift is not failure. This needs to be said clearly. Not everyone is meant to see visions. Not everyone is meant to heal. Not everyone is meant to feel energy physically. Some are meant to hold space, maintain discipline, live upright, protect quietly, pray steadily, support others. Those roles matter just as much. But attacking someone else's role because you don't understand it reveals immaturity. Gifts do not make you above correction. This is also important. Having gifts does not make someone untouchable. It does not make them immune to discipline. It does not make them above God. All gifts operate under God's authority. All gifts are accountable. All gifts can be misused. But misuse is not proven by discomfort or jealousy. It is proven by conduct. Why Bible thumping fails here. Scripture was never meant to replace discernment. Using scripture as a weapon instead of as a foundation is spiritual laziness. People who quote loudly but cannot perceive often mistake obedience for blindness. God did not stop giving gifts because a book was written. He organized them. La Santa Muerte does not limit gifts. Death does not discriminate. She works with healers, protectors, witnesses, those who feel deeply, those who see clearly. She does not reduce people to sameness. She enforces truth through difference. Why attacks do not stop purpose. People think harassment stops calling. It does not. It reveals it. If you were insignificant, you would be ignored. Attacks come when your presence disrupts illusion. The correct response to different gifts. The correct response is not worship. It is not limitation. It is not attack. It is humility. If you don't understand the gift, learn. If you don't have it, respect it. If it is not your role, stay in yours. That is maturity. Final truth. God assigns gifts. La Santa Muerte enforces responsibility. Not everyone sees. Not everyone feels. Not everyone heals. And that is not a flaw. That flaw is attacking what you don't understand instead of growing where you are. If you are gifted, carry it cleanly. If you are not, walk upright anyway. Both paths are valid. Both paths are accountable. And neither path answers to the crowd. All of this unfolds under the authority of God Almighty and the discipline of La Santísima Muerte. Sit with this teaching. Gifts are not given to be admired. They are given to be carried. What goes on in the world today is if people ain't like you, they attack you. If you perceive someone as different, you want to hate them. That's plain and simple. Hi, Kenya, how are you? To me, gifts are not meant to be displayed in a boastful way. And if you are gifted, you understand these things. For those that see us as, oh, blah, 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 if you don't understand it, if you don't got the gift, you wouldn't fucking know. It's plain and simple. And again, there's people that go on and attack others because they're different. That's the state of the world right now. Difference should not be attacked. It should be learned and celebrated. Being different doesn't make you wrong. It just makes you have a different of opinion or different thoughts or different gifts. It's shameful that when people think differently than others, they're shunned. That's not spiritual alignment. That's not spiritual maturity. That is plain and simple, just ignorance. All right. So that's that one teaching. If you guys have anything to comment on, you guys can inbox me. Again, I'm not going to open the lives anymore for a fucking short while because I got all these people trying to come in and sort of give me that negative energy shit. So we're going to go ahead and start with the next teaching. All right. So I did a teaching last week, and this is a teaching that I liked, and I'm gonna do it again. I recorded it. I couldn't post it because it was too long. So I'm gonna break it down in sections. This is meant to be learning, not just for me, but for everybody that tries to follow Santa Muerte. If you're devoted, if you're thinking about it, if you know, and here's the thing is, every teaching that I do does not apply just to people that worship death. It could be applied to all your spiritual paths. It could be applied to if you're Buddhist, if you're Hindu, if you're Catholic, if you're Christian, if you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, if you're a practitioner of native arts, whatever it is that you do, my teachings apply to whatever it is you want to apply it to. I'm never here to try to sort of convert people to my way of thinking. I'm never here to try to convince people that my way is right, and I'm never above correction. But here's the thing is, I accept correction only from those above me, which is God and Santa Muerte. That is where I receive my correction from. And there's many people that think that because they speak loudly, their will shall be done. That is a very, very weak way to approach things. I'm never one to run away from a fight. I'm learning to fucking choose my fights now because you can't fight everybody that has a difference of opinion, because that's a lot of them. And I don't got that kind of stamina no more. I'm an old man. So I'm going to choose to rise above and not step in the shit that's before me. I'm going to step over the fucking wads of shit. It's not in my energy right now to try to fucking, try to convince ignorance, because ignorance runs rapid. So here's where we are. The teaching I just did applies to everything. This next teaching applies to those that feel they have a calling to Santa Muerte, that feel that they're devoted, and again, this is not a teaching to shame or call out. It's a teaching to show. It's a teaching to learn, because we all have different spaces, and it doesn't make you less or more. Like I said, if you're gifted, it doesn't make you less or more. If you're not gifted, it doesn't make you less or more. We all have to be in the same space because we all integrate within our brothers and sisters. And the only difference between one and the other is simply one has a different type of responsibility while the other has a different responsibility. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that changes is the responsibility that comes with the gifts or without them. So here we go. This is a teaching about those who feel they are devoted. All right, and I'm gonna do it in segments. So I'm gonna stop every once in a while, because if I make it too long, I can't post it on Patreon. So here we go. Children of Death, a deep explanation of those born under the scythe. This is not a sermon meant to comfort you. It is not meant to soothe fear. It is not meant to flatter belief systems or validate identities. This teaching is meant to correct understanding. Many people approach spirituality emotionally. They listen for what feels good, what confirms what they already believe, or what allows them to stay comfortable. That is not how this teaching works. What you are about to hear requires discipline, not imagination. It requires maturity, not curiosity. It requires honesty, not performance. If you listen to this through fear, you will misunderstand it. If you listen to this through ego, you will misuse it. If you listen to this through superstition, you will reject it. This teaching is grounded under one authority, God as creator. Nothing in this teaching places death above God. Nothing in this teaching glorifies destruction, chaos, or harm. Everything you will hear is framed through justice, order, and responsibility. This is also not symbolic poetry. It is not metaphor for entertainment. It is lived reality spoken plainly. When I speak about children of death, I am not inviting people to claim an identity. I am not offering a title, a badge, or a role. I am explaining a condition of existence that some are born into and most are not. If you find yourself wanting this to apply to you, stop. Stop listening. If you find yourself feeling offended, keep listening. If you find yourself uncomfortable, you are likely hearing it correctly. This teaching will dismantle ideas you were taught. It will challenge moral shortcuts. It'll remove aesthetic labels like light and dark and replace them with something harder: what is just. You do not need to agree with what is being said here, but you do need to hear it accurately. So listen slowly, listen without rushing to judge, listen without trying to place yourself inside the teaching. This is not about who you think you are. It is about what is real. With me so far? First truth: death is not evil. Before we can talk about children of death, we must destroy the first lie. The first lie. Not soften it, not reframe it politely, destroy it. Death is not evil. That statement alone unsettles people, not because it's wrong, but because fear has been taught so deeply that truth feels dangerous. God is the creator of all things. All life flows from God, but so does every ending. If death were evil, then God would have created evil as a function, and that is not truth. Death exists because limit exists, and limit is not cruelty. Limit is order. Everything that has no ending becomes corrupted. Everything that never stops decays. Everything that refuses to die becomes a parasite. Death is not the enemy of life. Death is the boundary that protects life from rot. When a tree dies, the forest feeds. When a season ends, another can begin. When a body fails, the soul is released. This is not malice. This is design. So why are people terrified of death? Because fear of death is taught, not natural. A child does not fear death instinctively. A child fears separation, pain, and abandonment, not the concept of death itself. Fear of death is installed later. It is taught by systems that benefit from control, by institutions that weaponize eternity, by powers that rule better when people are afraid to question, change, or end cycles. Because a person who fears death will tolerate almost anything to avoid it. Fear makes people obedient. Fear makes people silent. Fear makes people surrender truth for the promise of safety. And death threatens false safety. Death does not threaten truth, it threatens illusion. Death does not come to destroy goodness, it comes to expose what was never solid. That is why people call death evil, because death does not negotiate with lies. It does not care about titles. It does not respect reputation. It does not bend to belief systems. Death asks only one question: what is real? Death is balance. It ends what refuses correction. It closes what drains life. It draws a line where chaos would otherwise spread. Without death, abuse would never stop. Without death, tyranny would never fall. Without death, suffering would have no release. People who call death cruel rarely ask who benefits when nothing ends. Death is also truth. You cannot lie to death. You cannot perform for death. You cannot manipulate death. Death sees you stripped of every mask. This is not evil. That is honesty. When death walks into a room, all pretending ends. That is why death is feared, not because it kills, not because it reveals. Death reveals what mattered. Death reveals what was wasted. Death reveals who lived in alignment and who hid behind distractions. Death is not malicious. Death is precise. And here is the correction that must be spoken plainly. If death were evil, then every ending would be wrong. But endings save lives. Endings, addictions saves families. Ending abuse saves souls. Ending cycles saves generations. Sometimes what people call destruction is actually deliverance. Death is not chaos unleashed. Death is law enforced. It exists under God's authority, not outside of it. And when death is present, it is not because God has abandoned creation. It is because God has intervened. Until you understand this, you cannot understand children of death, because you cannot walk with something you still fear as evil. This truth is not meant to comfort you. It is meant to correct you. And correction is the first act of mercy. Here we go. You guys ready? Second truth. Some are born with death. The second truth must be stated clearly, because this is where curiosity turns into confusion and ego tries to insert itself. Some people meet death. Some people survive death. Some people witness death closely. That does not make them children of death. Meeting death is not the same as being raised with it. Many people encounter death through trauma, loss, violence, illness, or proximity. Death touches their life at a moment in time. It marks them, changes them, humbles them, or scares and scars them. That experience can be profound, but it is still an encounter. A child of death does not encounter death. Death is present before the encounter is even possible. Children of death sense death before language, before belief, before explanation. They do not have words for it. They do not have theology for it. They only know that something heavy exists alongside them from the beginning. This awareness does not arrive through teaching. It does not come from culture. It does not come from religion. It comes before all of that. As children, they often experience a seriousness that does not match their age, a quiet awareness that life is fragile, a sense that endings are close even when nothing appears wrong, a depth that others don't recognize and sometimes punish. For many children of death, this presence feels like dread early on, not because death is harming them, but because the mind of a child does not yet understand what it is carrying. The weight arrives before understanding does. That dread is often misdiagnosed. Adults call it anxiety. Doctors call it sensitivity. Teachers call it distraction. Families call it moodiness. But the child knows something is different, even if no one else does. This awareness does not make childhood easier. It often makes it harder. Children of death are rarely carefree. They are rarely reckless. They are rarely oblivious. They see consequences early. They feel finality early. They understand permanence before others are ready to. That is not learned behavior. That is orientation. This is why this path is not chosen. You cannot wake up later in life and decide this applies to you. You cannot read about it, resonate emotionally, and adopt it as an identity. That is curiosity, not calling. A calling does not flatter you. It does not feel empowering at first. It does not arrive with clarity or excitement. It arrives with weight. Children of death often spend years trying to escape that weight. They try to numb it. They try to outrun it. they try to drown it in distraction, rebellion, belief systems, or performance, and it does not leave. Because it is not an attachment. It is not an entity jumping from person to person. It is not a role waiting to be filled. It is a condition of being. This is why not everyone qualifies. Not everyone has the nervous system to hold this awareness. Not everyone has the discipline to live with this proximity to truth. Not everyone is meant to carry that responsibility that comes with seeing endings clearly. And this truth must be spoken plainly, because ego will try to steal what it did not earn. If you feel excited by this idea, it is not yours. If you feel special because of this idea, it is not yours. If you feel powerful when hearing this, you are misunderstanding it. Children of death are not empowered by this truth. They are burdened by it. They do not walk around feeling chosen. They walk around feeling different, often isolated, often misunderstood, often carrying questions they did not ask for. They do not seek death. They do not worship death. They do not romanticize death. They live with it. And that difference matters. Because this truth is not about identity. It is about responsibility. And responsibility does not announce itself with pride. It announces itself with weight. Third truth, survival is not coincidence. The third truth confronts a pattern most people are uncomfortable with and naming. Children of death survive what should have not, or what should have killed them. I'm going to start this over because I fucked that up. So here we go. Ready? Third truth, survival is not coincidence. The third truth confronts a pattern most people are uncomfortable naming. Children of death survive what should have ended them. Not once, not twice, repeatedly. This is not exaggeration. It is not mythology. It is not romantic storytelling. It is consistent patterns seen across lives that do not make sense on paper. Accidents that should have killed them. Violence that should have ended them. Illness that should have not been reversed. Moments where the outcome was already decided, yet somehow delayed. People call this luck because luck requires no responsibility. Calling it luck allows people to move on without asking why. But luck does not repeat with precision. Luck does not show up over and over in the same life while others around them fall. Luck does not preserve someone through chaos while consuming those standing next to them. Survival like this is not random. It is restraint. There is an important distinction that must be understood clearly. God permits death and death obeys, but God also restrains death when a purpose has not yet been fulfilled. Death does not fail. Death does not hesitate. Death does not miscalculate. When death pulls back, it is not weakness, it is instruction. Children of death often live through environments that are unstable, violent, or destructive. Their surroundings collapse while they remain standing. Relationships implode, systems fail, People self-destruct, and yet the child of death remains. This does not mean they are untouched. It does not mean they are protected from pain. It means they are preserved through it. They often ask the same question internally, even if they never say it out loud. Why am I still here? That question is not philosophical. It is instinctual, because on some level, they know they should have not been. This survival is not favor. It is assignment. And assignment is heavier than blessing. Being spared does not mean being chosen for comfort. It means being held back until something is finished. It means death was instructed to wait, not because the person is special, but because the work is unfinished. Children of death are often the last ones standing in rooms where chaos has burned through everything else. Not because they are stronger, but because they are positioned differently. They are allowed to witness endings without being consumed by them. This is why many of them mature early. This is why they lose innocence fast. This is why they do not see the world as safe or as permanent. They understand impermanence not as theory, but as lived reality. And here is where people misunderstand this truth dangerously. Survival does not mean immunity. Children of death are not untouchable. They are not invincible. They are not protected from consequences, recklessness, or disobedience. They survive because restraint is active, not because danger is absent. There is a line, and that line matters. God's permission allows life to continue. Death's restraint enforces that permission. But restraint is not endless, it is conditional. When purpose is ignored, restraint lifts. When responsibility is rejected, restraint lifts. When ego replaces obedience, restraint lifts. This is why many children of death live close to the edge without falling until they don't. Survival is not a guarantee, it is a window. A window to learn, a window to align, a window to walk correctly. Many do not realize this until later in life. Some never realize it at all. They confuse survival with entitlement. They mistake restraint for approval. And when restraint lifts, they are shocked. This truth must be spoken plainly because people love stories of survival but hate the responsibility that comes with them. If you survived what should have killed you, it does not mean you are owed anything. It means something is required of you. Survival is not a trophy. It is a summons. Children of death do not outlive chaos because they are immune to it. They outlive chaos because they are meant to understand it, correct it, or stand as proof that it does not have final authority. They walk through destruction without belonging to it. And that difference is not luck. It is positioning. It is restraint. It is assignment. Sorry, let me just get this going again. All right, here we go. Fourth truth: light, dark, and the lie of moral aesthetics. The fourth truth confronts one of the most dangerous lies in modern spirituality: the belief that morality can be judged by appearance. White magic, black magic, light equals good, dark equals evil. These ideas are not ancient wisdom. They are spiritual shortcuts for people who don't want to do the work of discernment. Color is not morality. Aesthetic is not ethics. Tone is not truth. People are taught to judge spirituality by how it looks and feels instead of by what it produces and what it costs. This is not wisdom, it is laziness. A ritual performed in soft language, gentle music, and comforting symbols can still be unjust. It can still manipulate, violate, exploit, or corrupt. Beauty does not cleanse intention. Calm energy does not excuse wrongdoing. Intention without justice is corruption. People hide behind intention because intention feels innocent. I meant well, because a shield against accountability. But intention does not undo harm. Intention does not erase consequence. Intention does not override truth. Justice does not ask what you meant. Justice asks what you did and what it caused. On the other side, people fear anything that looks dark, severe, or confrontational. They assume that firmness equals cruelty and that boundary equals evil. This is how disorder survives. Corruption does not always look gentle. Truth does not always feel safe. Boundaries do not always come wrapped in kindness. A surgeon causes pain to remove disease. A judge delivers sentences to protect the innocent. A parent disciplines to prevent destruction. None of this is evil. It is responsibility. Children of death understand this instinctively. They do not chase light for comfort. They do not avoid darkness out of fear. They are not impressed by candles, words, or appearances. They look at outcomes. They look at patterns. They look at truth. They know that something can feel loving and still be wrong. They know that something can feel harsh and still be just. This is why they reject false spiritual binaries. There is no white or black magic in truth. There is alignment or misalignment. There is justice or injustice. There is obedience or corruption. Everything else is distraction. Pretty rituals do not make something right. Soft voices do not make something pure. Harsh language does not make something evil. Darkness does not automatically mean harm, and light does not automatically mean good. What matters is whether boundaries are upheld. Justice is the only true boundary. Justice protects the innocent. Justice restrains the destruction. Justice restores balance. Without justice, spirituality becomes indulgence. It becomes emotional self-soothing dressed up as enlightenment. It becomes permission instead of discipline. And indulgent spirituality always collapses. Children of death are often rejected by spiritual communities because they disrupt this illusion. They ask questions people don't want to answer. They point out harm people want to excuse. They refuse to bless what is out of alignment just because it feels good. This makes them uncomfortable to be around. They are not easily impressed. They are not easily manipulated. They are not easily fooled because they understand that death does not care how spiritual you look. Death responds only to what is real. This is why moral aesthetics fail in this presence of death. Death does not recognize white or black magic. Death does not recognize ritual language or spiritual branding. Death recognizes law. What is balanced survives. What is corrupt collapses. Children of death walk in that understanding, whether others like it or not. They do not operate from fear of darkness or obsession with light. They operate from responsibility. They know when to preserve and when to end. They know when to mercy. They know when mercy is appropriate and when mercy becomes negligence. That discernment is not learned from books. It is forged through proximity to endings. This truth is sharp because it must be. If you judge spirituality by how it looks, you will be deceived. If you judge morality by how it feels, you will excuse harm. If you replace justice with intention, you will corrupt everything you touch. Children of death are not here to make spirituality comfortable. They are here to make it honest. And honesty does not care about aesthetics. Fifth truth, the gray walkers. The fifth truth explains the path that children of death walk, and it must be spoken carefully, because this is where misunderstanding turns into imitation. Gray walkers are not undecided. They are not confused. They are not morally flexible. They are balanced. They hold mercy and consequence at the same time, without letting one erase the other. They understand compassion without abandoning accountability. They understand firmness without judging or indulging cruelty. This balance is not comfortable and it is not popular. Most people prefer extremes because extremes remove responsibility. If everything is mercy, nothing is corrected. If everything is punishment, nothing is healed. Gray walkers reject both shortcuts. They know when to protect and when to cut off. Protection does not mean enabling. Cutting off does not mean hatred. Gray walkers protect what is innocent, vulnerable, or capable of growth. They cut off what refuses correction, drains life, or spreads harm. This is not emotional, it is deliberate. They do not enjoy endings. They do not seek conflict. They do not escalate unnecessarily. But they do not avoid force when force is required. Force does not always mean violence. Force can mean boundaries, consequences, removal of access, or permanent separation. Gray walkers understand that refusing to act can be just as destructive as acting recklessly. They refuse cruelty. Cruelty is an action without restraint. Cruelty is punishment for ego. Cruelty is power without accountability. Gray walkers do not operate from anger, revenge, or pride. But they also refuse cowardice. Cowardice hides behind kindness. It avoids confrontation to preserve comfort. It allows harm to continue while calling itself peaceful. Gray walkers do not confuse peace with avoidance. They walk balance without apology. They do not explain themselves to those who benefit from this order. They do not soften truth to maintain access. They do not dilute boundaries to remain liked. This makes them difficult to categorize. Some call them cold. Some call them harsh. Some call them unloving. Others call them fair. Gray walkers accept all of it. They are not here to be understood by everyone. They are not here to act correctly, whether they are praised or condemned. This path does not come with recognition. It does not come with applause. It often comes with isolation. Gray walkers often stand alone because they cannot fully belong to a system built on denial or excess. They see too clearly. They cannot pretend. They cannot unsee what is broken. They also do not advertise this path. If someone needs to announce that they are balanced, they are not. If someone needs to be seen as just, they are not. Balance does not need validation. Gray walkers are known by their restraint. They know when not to act. They know when to walk away. They know when silence is more powerful than confrontation. And when they act, it is not received and reactive, it is measured. This is why this path is rare. It requires discipline, not emotion. It requires obedience, not instinct. It requires responsibility, not identity. Gray walkers do not walk light or dark. They walk what is just. And that path does not need approval. Sixth truth, the burden, not the power. The sixth truth corrects one of the most dangerous misunderstandings about children of death. This is not power. If you think this path gives power, you have already misunderstood it. Children of death are often lonely, not because they isolate themselves deliberately, but because they cannot pretend. They see through people early. They recognize patterns quickly. They sense inconsistency, manipulation, and falsehood before others are willing to admit it exists. This does not make relationships easier, it makes them harder. When you see clearly, you cannot participate comfortably in lies. You cannot unsee motives once they are revealed. You cannot relax inside systems that deepen on denial to function. This clarity separates. Children of death are often left out of places in social spaces, spiritual communities, workplaces, and even families. They ask questions others avoid. They notice cracks others ignore. They feel tension where others feel normal. This does not make them superior, it makes them isolated. They are not rewarded for this awareness. They are often punished for it. Labeled difficult, labeled intense, labeled negative, labeled ungrateful. But the truth is simpler. They see too much to play along. Peace comes late for children of death, not early. Many people associate spiritual maturity with calm, bliss, or detachment. That is not the early experiences of those who live close to endings. Their early years are often turbulent, chaotic, or heavy. They carry seriousness before they are equipped to understand it. They spend years wrestling with questions they did not ask to hold. They search for grounding while surrounded by instability. They endure loss, disruption, and collapse before most people face their first real test. Peace does not arrive through avoidance. It arrives through endurance. Children of death often find peace only after they accept the weight they carry instead of trying to escape it. Once they stop fighting their orientation and start walking responsibly within it, stability slowly forms. That peace is not naive, it is earned. This path is also marked by accountability. Children of death are not excused from consequences. In fact, they are often held to a higher standard. When they act out of alignment, the correction is swift. When they misuse authority, the cost is severe. When they lie to themselves, life responds sharply. This is not punishment, it is precision. Responsibility increases clarity, not entitlement. This is why identity must never come before accountability. Claiming to be a child of death does not give permission to harm, dominate, intimidate, or escape responsibility. It does not it does the opposite. It demands restraint. It demands discipline. It demands humility. Those who romanticize this path are often exposed quickly. They chase darkness for aesthetics. They confuse seriousness with authority. They mistake emotional intensity for depth. And life corrects them. Children of death do not feel powerful. They feel responsible. They do not feel chosen. They feel obligated. They do not feel elevated. They feel watched. Because proximity to death sharpens awareness, and awareness increases accountability. This truth humbles without diminishing. It reminds us that this path is not about standing above others. It is about standing correctly when others look away. And that is not glamorous. It is heavy. Seventh truth: discipline under God and death. The seventh truth establishes order, because without order, everything that has been said before can be twisted. God is the creator. God is the highest authority. Nothing stands above God. Death does not rule. Death serves. Any teaching that places death above God is false. Any path that removes obedience and replaces it with emotion is corrupted. Any practice that invokes death without discipline invites disorder. This hierarchy is not symbolic, it is law. Death exists under God's permission, not outside of it. Death enforces boundaries that God allows. Death does not decide, death responds. This distinction matters because people who do not understand hierarchy misuse power they were never meant to hold. Children of death must be disciplined, or they become dangerous to themselves and others. Emotion is not authority. Intensity is not wisdom. Feeling guided is not the same as being aligned. Obedience matters more than emotion because emotion fluctuates. Emotion reacts. Emotion justifies. Obedience anchors action to law instead of impulse. Many people confuse spiritual sensitivity with spiritual authority. They feel deeply, so they assume they are right. They sense strongly, so they believe they are justified. This is how harm is excused in spiritual language. Children of death cannot afford this confusion. Their proximity to endings demand restraint. Their clarity demands accountability. Their actions carry weight, and weight requires control. Boundaries are not optional. Restraint is not weakness. Law is not limitation. Law protects against chaos. Without boundaries, correction becomes cruelty. Without restraint, force becomes abuse. Without law, justice becomes personal preference. Children of death must know when not to act as much as when to act. They must understand that silence can be obedience. Waiting can be discipline. Withdrawal can be alignment. Not every impulse to correct is yours to carry out. Not every wrong is yours to confront. Not every ending is yours to initiate. This is where many fail. They mistake awareness for assignment. They mistake proximity for permission. They mistake survival for entitlement. And life corrects them. Discipline under God means submitting action to authority, even when emotion demands movement. It means holding back when ego wants expression. It means choosing alignment over reaction. Death respects discipline. Death does not respond to theatrics. Death does not honor performance. Death does not reward impatience. Death moves when law allows it. This is why children of death who walk correctly are often calm under pressure. They are not rushed by fear. They are not provoked easily. They are not driven by the need to prove anything. They understand timing. They understand restraint. They understand the authority without discipline destroys itself. This truth prevents misuse because it draws a clear line. You do not command death. You do not wield death. You do not speak for death unless you are aligned under God. Anything else is ego wearing spiritual language. Children of death walk carefully because they understand what is at stake. They do not play with endings. They do not dramatize judgment. They do not confuse obedience with weakness. They remove when permitted. They act when required. They stop when instructed. That is discipline. And without this discipline, this path collapses. Thank you for all you guys here giving me some likes and some love. I appreciate it. Here we go. Eighth truth. While children of death are necessary. The final truth explains why this path exists at all. Children of death do not exist for symbolism. They do not exist for fascination. They do not exist to be admired, feared, or followed. They exist because truth cannot survive without witnesses. When no one carries truth, lies multiply. When no one enforces boundaries, corruption spreads. When no one is willing to stand near endings, decay becomes normalized. Societies do not collapse because of chaos alone. They collapse because accountability disappears. Children of death emerge in times of decay because decay requires confrontation. When systems rot from the inside, gentle reminders are no longer enough. When harm is protected by comfort, disruption becomes necessary. This is why society fears those who cannot be controlled. Control relies on fear, reward, and illusion. People who fear loss can be manipulated. People who chase approval can be directed. People who depend on systems for identity can be threatened into obedience. Children of death do not respond to these pressures. They are not impressed by status. They are not motivated by comfort. They are not paralyzed by endings. This makes them disruptive. Not because they seek conflict, but because they cannot be bought. They cannot be silenced by fear of loss. They cannot be distracted with surface level solutions. They see what is failing and they do not pretend otherwise. Children of death exist when denial has gone on too long. They exist when lies have been dressed up as tradition. They exist when harm has been normalized in the name of stability. They are not sent to destroy the world. They are sent to remind it that nothing false lasts. Their presence alone unsettles fragile systems because those systems rely on the belief that nothing will change. Children of death stand as living proof that everything ends. That truth is not cruel, it is corrective. But this final truth must land firmly. Necessity does not mean superiority. Children of death are not above others. They are not more evolved. They are not more important. They are more responsible. Responsibility is not glamorous. It does not come with recognition. It does not feel empowering. It often feels isolating. And it is not optional. Those who walk this path must do so quietly, carefully, and correctly. They are not here to boast about what they see. They are not here to act. They are here to act when required and stay silent when not. They do not announce endings. They do not threaten judgment. They do not posture as authority. They uphold balance through restraint. This is why pride has no place here. The moment pride enters, the path collapses. The moment identity replaces responsibility, correction becomes corruption. The moment ego takes the lead, discipline fails. Children of death are necessary because someone must stand where others look away. Someone must remain steady when endings arrive. Someone must remember that truth does not disappear just because it is inconvenient. They are not meant to be followed. They are meant to be aligned. And alignment does not ask for recognition. It demands obedience. Final truth. Walk correctly. What you have heard today is not something to claim. It is something to carry correctly. This teaching was not given to create identity. It was given to restore order. If you recognize yourself in these truths, do not rush to name it. Do not announce it. Do not perform it. Walk it quietly with discipline and under God's authority. If this teaching unsettled you, let it. Discomfort is not harm. It is often correction doing its work. Remember this clearly. God is the creator. Death is a servant. Justice is the boundary. Responsibility is the measure. Do not leave here feeling elevated. Leave here grounded. Walk justly. Act with restraint. Respect endings. Honor life. And above all, walk correctly. And there it is. Hopefully you guys liked that teaching. If you guys didn't like it, I'm sorry. I apologize. Sometimes I feel like it's a harsh lesson to learn sometimes. Often people, okay, look, let me rephrase this. I've been in contact with people that have a very high respect for themselves. They are very they feel very empowered and chosen and gifted. And I've come to notice that those that walk this from an early age do not feel that they were given a gift. They were given a burden. They were given a weight that they did not ask for. They were given an assignment they weren't ready for. And often people that have this weight try to avoid it, try to silence it, try not to follow the path. But you can only run so long until you tire and you're like, fuck it, this is my path to walk. Death, energy, we all will experience. And we are devoted We can find death through loss, through pain, through suffering. We could find death through correction. We could find death, through any emotional, let's say, hardship. But there are those that walk with death without even knowing, before they even know language, before they even know, like, what death is. They have this unnecessary sort of weight on them, and they can't explain it. Being a child of death and a devotee, I think it's two different things. But they both are beautiful. They both are again, like, this is where I want this teaching to make sense. Again, we can find death in loss, in tragedy, in daily sort of struggles. And she comes and she helps, she corrects, she embraces, she elevates, she helps. And we could become so grateful that we start to venerate her. And then there are some that try to run away from it their entire life because it was something they did not understand. They had a fear of death without knowing what fucking death was. And if this is you, if you had an early fear of the unknown without even realizing that you felt that, and when you accepted her into your life, something came over you, a peace, a knowing that took away all that anxiety, all that fear, then you might be one of her children. But it is not to brag about, because that shit comes with a lot of responsibility, a lot of weight. You feel burdened, you feel alone, you feel like you see through illusion and nothing seems right. The world seems to be a little bit more icky for you. So it's not a flex. It's more of a burden. And people seem to misunderstand the whole thing. There's people that boast about their alignment. They boast about their righteousness. They boast about their fucking bullshit. I've always said it. I am a flawed motherfucker. I'm human. I am a human that struggles to do right every day, but I do right because I'm aligned. It's much easier to be wicked. For me, it is. It's much easier to be corrupt. For years, I used this practice and I sort of did the whole street life thing till something clicked. I feel that I was saved by this path. I used it for, let's say, gang activity, for making money, for blah blah blah, all this shit. I felt that I felt very protected, but I understood that I was wearing her out. My protection was ending unless I got aligned. And alignment happened. And when I felt so far from God, she brought me back to him. So again, I've seen the destruction and disruption this can have. It corrupts those, but it can also bring you back. I'm a testament to everything. I should have died fucking 5, 10, 20 times. There's no explanation to why I'm still here except there's something I need to do. There's something unfinished that I have to complete. There's something that is needed from me, not maybe from you, but required from them. I could name you at least 5 times I should have died. At least 5. There's more. But I haven't. And in the beginning, I felt like, man, I can't be stopped. And I pushed my boundaries because I was a fucking asshole. And I'm not here to fucking try to I can't change my past. I can only change the days to come. Presently, right now, it's the best version of me that has ever existed. Tomorrow, I hope it's better. Tomorrow, I hope that myself is better tomorrow. And I hope that continues until my final breath. So right now, if you don't feel like you're the best person or version of yourself, thank you, Ariel. May be blessed now for Santa Muerte protect you and God guide you. If you don't think you're the best version of yourself, start making the change for tomorrow. Because this moment right now shapes the view of tomorrow. So if you decide to be a better person, if you decide to be more aligned, if you decide to be more abundant, if you decide to be happier, if you decide to be more in line with your personal beliefs, enjoy your day, Ariel. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. If you guys believe that this is the best version of you right now, you stop growing and you are misaligned. We will never stop evolving spiritually ever. If you think you're at the highest peak of spirituality, you're sadly mistaken. We never fully finish evolving spiritually. We always have something to gain, something to learn, something to move towards. And again, when you are aligned, all right, I can't wait, Ariel. When you are aligned, you don't feel as elevated. I see a lot of people boast and brag about how fucking much knowledge they have, about how much righteousness they carry in their pinky, about how chosen they are. True alignment does not make you boastful. It doesn't increase ego. It makes you humbler. It makes you more obedient. It makes you walk a clearer path. It makes you stay in your lane. It makes you sort of see things through a light that you didn't see before. Spiritual elevation does not mean bragging, does not mean attacking, does not mean talking shit. All that shit, that's not spirituality. I don't judge other people's paths. I don't judge other people's religion. I don't attack the way they live because it's not my place. It is not my place. And it's not your place either. Stay your path. Work on your discipline. Work on your alignment. Accept those around you because they are your brethren. The saddest thing that I see in the world today is the intolerance people have for one another. It is sad. It is morally wrong to be so misinformed and so pig-headed that you can't accept other people's thoughts, beliefs. They're not yours to take. You don't got to make my thoughts and my beliefs yours. But there should be a level of respect that a lot of this generation is missing. It's okay to be different. It's okay to not understand other people. It's okay not to have the same beliefs or the same gifts. It's okay. Just because you're different doesn't mean you're the boogeyman to me. Just because you pray different, praise different, because you have a different sexual orientation, because you voted differently, because you believe in a different aspect of spirituality, it does not make us at odds, at least not in my eyes. We should learn to respect one another. We should learn to accept that there's people that are different in belief in all aspects. And it's okay. I don't like Burger King. Some people be like, Burger King is a shit. I've been to Whataburger. I don't think it's that good. I like In-N-Out. Does that make me hate somebody that fucking likes Whataburger? No. I don't like the Raiders. I don't care at all for the Raiders. That doesn't make me fucking hate Raider fans. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's very immature to have that fucking that mindset. I don't like to show friends. I can't relate. I can't relate to that shit. I can't. Doesn't mean I hate people that do. It's just a difference, different upbringings, different backgrounds, difference of opinion. And that's what makes us different from other species. We should learn to accept one another, and that's it. Anyways, I'm gonna do my teachings. I did them. I'm gonna do my readings later because I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna respond to some people that have been here and they've been texting me and whatnot. But here's the thing: be a better version of yourself. Be more tolerant. Be more accepting. Not everyone has to dress and look like you. Not everyone has to have the same gifts, the same mindset, the same political views. It's very funny that the same people that preach tolerance don't practice it. Am I lying? No, because I like to believe I speak truth. It's my truth. Let's tolerate one another. Let's be tolerant of each other. Why not? Let's fucking give it a go. Let's fucking try. Hmm? No. Again, I don't hate nobody. I don't hate nobody unless they give me a reason to. I don't hate nobody. I respect everyone until they give me the reason not to respect. But anyone that comes to my life, they get the same respect for me until they fucking make me not respect them. But everyone, I don't give a fuck what you look like, what you believe in. If you are whatever and I see someone, I will be polite to anyone under any circumstance unless they show me different energy. Isn't that the way we should be? My parents taught me to have manners. My parents taught me to respect other people. They also taught me to not put up with anyone's bullshit if they didn't show me no respect. And they told me this, and I've said this many times before. My parents gave me so many fucking bits of wisdom that I like to share because my mom and dad also told me, no te metas en lo que no te importa. Mind your business, pretty much. Mind your business. If it doesn't pertain to you, sometimes you should just stay out of it. No te metas en lo que no te importas have been one of the best goddamn fucking lessons I have ever learned. Thank you so much for the gifts there. Oh my God, who's that? Thank you for the gifts. Everyone that gifted me, thank you. May you guys be blessed now forever. Santa Muerte protect you and God always guide you. Again, if there's anything to learn from this today is be respectful. Not everyone's the same. There's different kinds of people in this world and we should tolerate one another. That's been my message all along. I've said this from the beginning. I don't care if you're Muslim, Jewish, Catholic, Christian. This is a safe space for anybody. For anybody. I don't care what your politics are. I don't care what your sexual orientation is. Because I really don't give a fuck. It's not for me to judge or to fucking condemn or anything. Because I don't. What I'm here to do is try to spread spiritual truth. My truth. And if you like what I say, fantastic. If you don't, you can fucking keep going. And that's okay. I'm not here for followers. I'm not here for likes. I'm not here for approval. I'm here because I made an oath to her and to God. That's it. And for those that have been following me from the beginning, when I first started this path, I didn't even fucking show my face on TikTok because I didn't think it was mine to have. I didn't do it for glory. I didn't do it because I wanted to be TikTok famous or anything. Fuck all that. But the reason I started showing my face is because people were pretending to be me and taking advantage of people. And that's when I decided to show my face. But here's the thing is, I don't like to take credit for energy that isn't mine. I don't take credit for the gifts that I'm allowed to fucking do, or the gifts that, because I always said it from the get-go. There's nothing special about me. I am a connector. I am a fuse. Anything that is done through me is not by me. It is through the gifts that I'm allowed. And I respect those gifts. I've never claimed to be better. I've never claimed to be fucking holier than thou. That's not ever what I've said here. I am but a mere fuse. I am a connection. I am not the source. And I've always been very clear about that. Nothing is done here without God's consent and Santa Muerte's fucking permission. It's plain and simple. If you guys follow truth, if you don't, if you are easily corrupted, if you are easily misled, again, I try to spread truth. That's it. I try to spread unity. That's it. If people don't like it, I'm not here to please everybody. I'm not here to be liked. I'm not here to be fucking, you can unfollow me, mass follow me. Like I said, I've done masses with one person there, and I will continue to do so. Because as long as one person hears my message and they take away something from it, I've done my job.